Hey, Jason, Charlie here. What's up? So today we decided we're going to talk a little bit about Google Places and also getting reviews on Google. If you've been on the internet and you've searched for anything, you've probably seen how Google will put you on there and tag you from usually 1 through sometimes 8, and it'll put companies, and sometimes you see little stars beside it, which are the reviews. And Charlie here, the webmaster, has got me pretty much on the straight and narrow as far as building up reviews and stuff. But Charlie, why don't we just talk a little bit about what's the importance and why we should do it?
Yeah, well, the biggest thing I think we're experiencing is so many people aren't finding results on the yellow pages, in traditional media even, but specifically the yellow pages. And what I like to tell people is it's kind of the equivalent of having the yellow page ad, where you're listed in there and you're under the right category in that regard. Well, today, so many people are using smartphones to find information. And obviously Google is tied into both of the major contenders, the Apple iPhone and then any of the Androids. Google actually is responsible for Android in that regard. So it's really, really important now more than ever to make sure you're listed, because that listing by itself is what stands out when people search. The biggest question we have though when you get a listing and you go through that process is, how do we make sure that our information is correct? How do we make sure that it's pointing in the right direction? And most importantly, that we're getting the right reviews and so on. And as a side note of all that, first of all, it's really important that you have your business listed in Google under the local places. That's what they call it, local places for business. Second of all, it's really, really important to make sure you've claimed your business, because competitors, we've seen this happen, competitors can claim your business. And if they do, they can put their own phone number in and their own website in, and it'll be your address with your company name and steal leads from you. And then finally, the most important part right now that really helps people skyrocket in terms of seeing their listing go up in the ranked results is getting reviews. Google said before that they don't really consider the reviews to play a role in how that your listing shows up, but we've seen proof multiple times that it's really not the case. The more reviews you have, the more fresh your listing is, and Google is all about freshness and relevancy, and the more your result grows. So it's real important to do all that. Just a while ago, I created and released a blog post about how to do that, all three of those things: how to get your listing, how to claim your listing, and then how to get reviews for your listing. So it's real important to have that listing. Best part about all this, it's free.
Yeah, I think, and anytime, you mentioned yellow pages, you mentioned some of these other avenues, and for guys like me who own a service company, the yellow pages was the only place for us to go, years ago. And people, plumbers, AC companies had thousands and thousands of dollars they would spend on those huge 1-page ads, or sometimes up to 3-page ads in the yellow pages, to get out there first. And I think the key thing now is, and so many companies aren't taking advantage of it, is Google reviews. With the Google, to claim your listing, like Charlie said, to get some reviews, and you can have your customers review you. You can have some people that you've used, friends that you've used their companies, or they use you. Or you can even dig a review and say, hey, I've referred this company to a lot of my friends and they've all been happy. That's a positive review. Yeah. But the key is to get them up there showing, and I can tell you that if Google doesn't say that they give it any leverage on these reviews, I don't know, because I've been at the top of the search engines for a long time with multiple reviews, and usually if you see the reviews, they actually put 5 stars beside your name if you have the 5-star reviews, or average 4 to 5.
Yeah.
And what's huge about that is when somebody sees it, like anything with a review or a symbol, or the Better Business Bureau has been a symbol for years, you see that and automatically people feel comfortable.
Yeah.
And I think they're going to go with those top 2. But here's something that Charlie didn't touch on. He touched a little bit on it, which is like the new iPhones. The new iPhones has that Siri app. I'm sure everybody's heard about it. But if you took the Siri app and you talked into it and you say, find me the best sushi restaurant within the local area, or in Fort Myers, say, Siri will actually go out there, find it, and say, I have searched through it, and based on reviews, these are the top rated. So if you ask for the best of something, Siri automatically pulls it. That might be Google, but she's looking at the reviews and pulling up the top companies.
Yep.
So you tell me that's not important to get your reviews on there.
And I think that's the #1 thing right now, is that #1, you have the reviews.
Yeah.
And you have a strategy in place to make sure you're getting continual reviews.
There's no doubt.
That's
and then,
a huge issue.
yeah, it's huge. And then something that I think that is important, it's something that I do, is to promote those reviews to other people. You know, on your website, do you have a place where you list all your reviews? Like, hey, check out our reviews on Google or on Yahoo or Bing or Yelp or Merchant Circle. I mean, there's tons of places, and that's something that on my day-to-day basis, I'm trying to really promote and just use reviews whenever I can.
Yeah. I wanted to step to the mobile devices for a minute.
Sure.
Around the review concept in Siri. Really important point. In the last year, Dan, our President Operations Manager, mentioned that we've seen 3% to 15% across a few of the sites we monitor in terms of the amount of people using mobile devices to access the websites.
Yeah.
And just after that meeting, I had a meeting with a good friend of mine, Brad Larson. This is a shout out to Brad. And he had a slide created of this presentation they do for real estate that said the future is in your pants. And it was so dead on.
Yeah.
Because the growth rate of people's phones that are in their pants is growing so fast, and they're responding to, finding, and acting without a computer involved, but just a smartphone device, that it's more important now than ever to have those reviews, to have that strategy. Siri's exactly what you said. Siri's such a good example of that. So real important to do that. Like I said, I've created a blog post that goes over how to do all that stuff.
You can share it. We'll be somewhere on the bottom.
And
of this
I'll
video.
put a link to it on this video as well. But it's real important that you get that. Like we've said, it's free. It's something that really helps out. And it's interesting that so many people that I've heard and have read about and have tested and measured this, they don't even have a website, but if they have themselves listed there, that generates phone calls, generates sales, just from the listing.
It's something also with you know, the listing. So there is a place at Google. Charlie said you have to claim your listing. Google's really good about walking you right through the steps. So claim your listing. If you don't have a website, it's not the end of the world, because you still have a phone number listed on your Google. You have the reviews listed, and Google almost creates something that gives you a web page look. You're allowed to upload, I think, 10 photos. You're allowed to upload 5 videos. So you can put your, you know, you can put your logo, you can put pictures of you on the job, your guys, your uniforms. You can, and it gives you a place of description, your hours. It almost becomes like a little mini website or a web page, I should say.
Works out really, really well.
Totally. And if you're not doing that, and maybe in your business you just can't afford a website, this is a great way to kind of, you know, you can put yourself ahead of some of the big players. Some of these guys will buy a website, you know, they have all the SEO in place, and then the little things like, hey, I don't have time to claim my listing, I'm not worried about it, and they're totally missing the boat because, I mean, you saw it as soon as I got my Siri phone. I couldn't wait to say, you know, and then see how they rated that, and sure enough,
so many people have a lot of fun with that. But the reality is, like you said, she's trying to give you relevant information, and she's basing it on what other people have said about the places she's recommending. Also, the location, as close as they are to you in that regard. Get that sort of best of both worlds.
So I got to think, if they're doing it for restaurants,
they're
going to do it for, hey, who's the best plumber in the area?
Exactly.
And then it's going to go based on ratings. There is nothing else they can go by.
Yeah, truly think about the fact that if you were in the review, I mean, you were in the list when Siri provided those results, even without a web page, millions of people are using this device. You have your number and name in there, and she's able to dish it out simply because you're listed in Google listings. So make sure that you spend some time doing that. There's multiple ways to make sure that's optimized and do all those kind of things, but just being in there is a huge, huge deal. So make sure that you go through. Like I said, we have a blog post that documents it all.
Yeah, and keep a close eye on it too. You know, keep a close eye on what happens. You know, after your reviews come in, you know, see where you stand now. You might not even be on the map. There's a way to do it. If you Google search for your company and then the city that you work in, or the city that you're most working in, check on the Google, because sometimes I think you know, you have the little tab to the left where it says web, video, and then it has maps. And if you click on the maps, it'll show your listing. So sometimes it's kind of hard to find it if you're just new to this. And you know, keep an eye on it. And the more reviews you get, you'll start to see yourself. And you know, ask some of your friends, your clients, people that you've used. I think the only thing you have to do a review for somebody else is you have to have you set up a Gmail account. Is that correct?
Google account.
Google account.
Yeah. And I don't know that it has to be Gmail, but it has to be a Google account.
Yeah, it walks you right through it and asks you for some
we got a link to that in the blog post too, so that works out.
So I hope that was helpful. It's done really well for my business, and we've had a lot of people talking about it lately. That's why Charlie and I decided to do this little video, and I think that's definitely why you decided to do the blog post to help everybody out.
Yeah, we have, like I was talking to you about earlier, we have a few blog posts ready to come out of the gate in 2012. This one, it just felt like the right time and put it up online, and really helpful.
Yeah, well, if you haven't done it already, log on to, Charlie, what's your blog so they can...
Yeah, thebigpicture.isgfl.com, and I'll have it in the video as well.
Yeah, so log on, subscribe to that. For 2012, we're talking about really just kicking out some cool stuff that's really helpful in the service industry. A lot of guys are using it, what you can do to get yourself out there and don't have to spend a ton of money to do it.
Yep, exactly. Hope you enjoyed that.
Yeah.
We'll catch you online and offline. See ya.
See ya.